Hi everybody! Today I'm going to make a different video. Any of you who are subscribed to my channel, of course I usually make dance videos. Today, however, as you can see by the title, we are going to discuss something a little bit different, which is one possible way that people who have a similar issue to me with severe PMS, menstrual cramping, possible ovarian cysts, and estrogen imbalances could hopefully benefit from. Before we go any further, of course, I want to say I'm not a doctor. Duh, I'm a dancer. I'm not a doctor. I don't have any medical training. I'm not giving you medical advice, and I'm not telling you that you should do anything. However, I am speaking to you as one female-bodied person to another, a person, an owner of a uterus and ovaries that do not work well, to the owner of a uterus and ovaries that also might not work well. So, a little bit of backstory. I'll try not to ramble on too much. I think it's been about 16 years of this journey. 16 years of pain. And I talk to women a lot who go through similar issues, and if this video could help one person, then I will be happy. Ever since I started menstruating, I think I was 14 or so, which is too young, but they have always been terrible. Name a PMS symptom and I get it, or I used to get it, on a monthly basis. But for me, just as a reference point, so that you can base whether or not my advice might help you or not, because if you have different issues, this probably is not for you. But my issues primarily are severe cramping to the point that I cannot stand. I would vomit from the pain. I've never passed out from the pain, but I have come close. I've been to the ER for my pain. I've had ultrasounds. I've had many different OBGYN visits. Along with that, I experience, the typical sore back, nausea and vomiting, breast tenderness, mood swings, headaches, fatigue. Yeah. And then before I started using my my method, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, it got so severe that my pain went from, fluctuating between a 7 and a 9 on the pain scale for about 8 hours to 10 hours on my worst day, and then probably around a 2, 3, and 4 on my not so terrible days. Those would usually be 3 or 4, and then the total cycle would be about 7 days total. So I lose 1 day a month completely to be able to do anything, and then 3 or 4 days on average a month that are less productive, and of course miserable. And let's see, where was I going from there? So it went from that, it actually got worse before it got better. What I believe happened at this point was I had an ovarian cyst that ruptured, and the pain for that radiated from up to my rib cage down to my knees, which is essentially referred pain. The ovaries are referring pain up and down the spine, and then also into the sciatic nerves, which causes the leg pain. So October 2018 was the first time I experienced that, and that went on for a month. So that was obviously not normal, and so that was the second time that I had scheduled a not an sonogram, an ultrasound. The problem with that, though, is that if you get an ultrasound after the fact, it doesn't show anything. So if you've had this cyst rupture, unless you actually go in at that time, it won't show anything. But I had one anyway. It was inconclusive. So at that point, and actually backing up a long time ago, what I was told by various OBGYNs, and I've been to probably 12, was that I either have ovarian cysts or I have endometriosis. And I believe I've ruled out endometriosis at this point, and I also know several women who do have it, who have kind of helped me wade through that possibility. So by process of elimination, I'm sort of left with ovarian cysts. I do think that I had one very, very, very severe cyst rupture before that. I actually thought I was pregnant. My stomach was very swollen over the course of a couple months. I was halfway skipping periods. I was nauseous. I had pressure, just all of these symptoms. And then actually right before Christmas, which was really fun, that's when I believe it ruptured. And I mean, there was fluid. So at first I thought it was a miscarriage, but now I don't think that's what it was. But anyway, again, unless you go into the emergency room at that time, they can't tell you. And when you're used to that level of pain, you don't see the reason to go to the hospital, especially when anytime you go, it's a waste of time. I don't know about anyone else's experience, but none of the doctors that I have ever been to have helped at all. They have all wanted to put me on birth control pills, and then end of discussion. No other options, no other. And anyway, last October when I went in, I told the OBGYN, who was male, I told him, I want surgery. I'm done with this. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being in pain. I should not be in this much pain. And especially for a month straight. It's not fair, and I can't do it anymore. And he said no. And because he hadn't seen me before, never mind that I gave him my life history and told him I'd been to all these other doctors, and he said, well, I don't really think that's necessary right now. But so I left there, and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go through the process of going to another doctor and another doctor and another doctor. It's a waste of money and time, and I've been dealing with this since I was 14, so I just told myself, like, well, I'm just going to deal with it as best as I can. But let's get to the good part. So the good part is I finally found relief. And it was so simple, and it was so inexpensive, and it makes me angry that doctors are not better trained, and also that there's not more research about women's health out there. So what I take is Icelandic Kelp. This is, I think, between $8 and $12, depending on where you buy it from. I will link this particular brand in the description below. I took that starting in November of 2018, and it did take probably 4 months before I started to feel an improvement, but it continually, steadily improved since then. And I'm actually cramping now, which is kind of what reminded me that I wanted to do this video. There is no way, previous to taking this Icelandic Kelp, there's no way I would have been able to sit here calmly and normally and talk. Like when you see women in labor, and like that's how life was for me once a month, every month. So to me that is astounding, and it seems too good to be true. It seems so simple that when I started doing it, I just thought, like, well, I don't have anything to lose. It's really cheap. I'm just gonna take it. It won't hurt anything. So let me tell you a little bit about this, and I'll have more links below for more research and like people who actually know what they're talking about to tell you, but just to give you a brief overview from my understanding of the science behind all of this. Sorry, if you hear children and dogs, sorry. But so Icelandic Kelp is a natural source that's high in iodine. And iodine is a very important kind of building block for the body to create estrogens. And the problem for a lot of women, especially modern lifestyle, modern diet, Western women, we have a imbalance and a predominance of bad estrogens. And this was news to me a long time ago. I just thought there's estrogen, progesterone, estrogen, blah, blah, blah. No, there are several different forms of estrogen, and they have different effects in the body. And some of them are good for you, and some of them are actually bad for you. So if you have elevated levels, I can't remember which ones are the good ones. I should have looked before the video. I believe estradiol is one of the ones that we are high in. I'll fact check myself and put it up on the screen there. But in any case, we are usually too high in these negative effect estrogens and low in the good ones. So the bad estrogens can actually increase risks of certain cancers. they cause PMS symptoms like breast tenderness, headaches, moodiness, and of course, cramping. So learning all of this kind of blew my mind. Why did not one single doctor ever bring any of this up? Great question. Great question. So doctors, if you're watching this, please take note to what women actually need to know. So anyway, the ovaries are the second highest user of iodine in the body. And so I thought, okay, well, worst case scenario, if I take this supplement, kelp is great for you in a lot of other ways. It's good for your hair. It's high in other vitamins, and it won't hurt anything. The only thing to look out for is, of course, if you do have hyperthyroidism, you don't want to take kelp. You should talk to your doctor before you start to take any supplement or pill of any kind. So don't take it just because I take it, okay? That's just stupid. And don't blame me if it doesn't work for you. Yeah, so just look out for the signs of excessive iodine in the body, because too much of anything is bad for you, as is too little of anything being bad for you. But I think it's a safe assumption in today's world that most of us are probably more likely to be deficient in a certain vitamin than they are to be abundant in that vitamin, which is just an unfortunate and sad thing that I could go on a rant about for an hour. But we'll save that for possibly another video. So I think it's safe to assume that iodine probably will not hurt you, especially the natural form, which is more bioavailable and easier to absorb than like straight iodine. So I personally don't recommend just taking iodine pills. And also don't go drink iodine. That's stupid. The other thing to note too is that there are different kinds of iodine as well, and I will try to figure out what the form of iodine is in the kelp. So please do look in the description box, do your own research. But so I went from, it's hard to say if it's really a 10, but I will say that the most pain that I've ever experienced in my life has always been my menstrual cramps, and I've been through a heck of a lot of different things. I've burned myself, I've been stung by jellyfish, like all these weird things that I could imagine are, like easily a level 10 in pain, and my pain always surpassed that. Blinding, searing, intense, cannot stand, rolling on the floor, moaning and screaming pain. So severe. We're just gonna say it's severe. And I went from that to I'm mildly uncomfortable right now, and I've been taking Motrin. I do use other herbal remedies as well. Ginger really helps me, and raspberry leaf tea helps a little bit as well. I will dive really quickly, and this is already longer than I wanted it to be, but I'll dive really quickly into some other things that I tried. I was on birth control pills for I think 12 years, which is too long, and if you've been on birth control pills, you need to maybe reevaluate that. I think it masks the symptoms, and what I discovered was in the long run it can actually make it worse, because you're just leading into that imbalance further because you're taking artificial hormones. And there is some theory as well that the body has a difficult time learning to produce those hormones again. Just like if you take insulin, your body doesn't produce insulin anymore. If you take melatonin for too long, your body won't produce melatonin anymore. If you take depression drugs, sometimes that can mess with your brain chemistry. Other things I learned about birth control pills that, again, I was not told, was that it changes your brain chemistry and your brain structure. It actually changes your brain physically. I was told that it can lead to certain types of cancers and blood clots, but it also does protect against other cancers. So anyway, things I was told and things I was not told. But in any case, you're really not supposed to be on birth control for that long. And so I think when I was 23, I decided to get off of birth control, and I don't use anything like that anymore. No hormones, no contraceptives. The other things that I did try, I tried, what is it called? Vitex, which I believe is chaste tree berry. And I'll link that as well below. That worked for me for a short time. It improved, but then it got worse. So I think be cautious of any herbal supplements that actually increase levels of one hormone or another, unless you specifically know which one ones you are deficient in. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a woman who has been through hell, and I would like to be able to help other women if I can. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. And then please do look into the literature and the other videos that I will link below, because I believe that every woman, especially a woman who struggles with their reproductive cycle, should understand more about their body, and we should be more educated about our body and how it works and what it really needs, which is predominantly nutrition. You might laugh at me when I say that, because I know I thought, like, how is taking one of these little tiny pills a day gonna make me feel any better? But it did. I just take one a day, which is 225 micrograms, which says it's 150% of the daily value. And keep in mind, you may not actually absorb all of that. I just take one a day. I've taken one a day for a year and a half, or a little more than that. I don't know what month it is now because of quarantine, but it's April. That's right. It's April now. So a little more than a year and a half, and it did work for me. I hope that it might work for you too. Give it some time. Give it a try. Just keep an eye out for those hyperthyroid symptoms, and make sure that you're not doing something that isn't good for your own body. So thank you for tuning in to this kind of deviation from my usual content, and please do share it with other women in your life if you think it might help them. And if you would like to see more dance videos, or if you want to see more health or beauty videos, I'm working on some of those as well. So you can hit that subscribe button, and I hope that I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.